And then we will introduce what is OAI. Yeah. Introduction of illumination, including OAI. This is axis illumination. Okay, so the main type for mask type. Okay, of course, some lithography do not use mask, but majority of lithography still use mask type. And the basic mask is a binary mask. And the other two, one is a alternating phase shift mask, and one is a attenuate phase shift mask. So binary is very easy to see. This is chrome, and this is quartz. Okay, so chrome does not go to light, and the light goes to heat, but the light has an intensity distribution. Okay. So if this is very small, then this will have overlap, and if this is very small, then eventually you won't be able to distinguish these two. So that's what we call the resolution limit. Okay. And then to kind of overcome this problem, we put a phase shift layer. Okay. In this case, it's SO3, spin-on glass. Okay. So the idea is that we try to make this and that 180-degree phase shift. Okay. So because if this is amplitude, and so negative is like a negative phase, and then we will have this go to negative amplitude. This is positive. So if this is 100%, this is 100% amplitude. So 100 and 100, but 180 phase shift. You need to go through here. That is 0. So that's why we have this one. We call it alternating phase shift mask. And attenuate phase shift mask, the majority we use is 6%. So here, compared to this is 100% dark. This is only 6% transparency. So you can see that here is, if this is 1, this is only 0.06. 0.06. Okay, so the amplitude is very small, but not 0. Okay, but phase is 180-degree difference. So basically, you will have this dip because the intensity is the amplitude squared. Okay, so if this is 6%, intensity is 6%, this is 100%. It has to go through 0 over here. So that's how we get these 3 types of mask. And for low resolution, it's cheap. We use a binary mask. And this one, although it has a very good confidence, I will talk about it. Usually do not use this one right now. For high resolution, we tend to use attenuate phase shift mask at 6%. So I think we talked about this, so I will skip. Basically, it is the same as I covered before. And what is OPE? Yeah, proximity effect. So a lot of time that this mask is what we design. Okay? And then at the end, when we see photoresist, we have a so-called line ensurement. We want to print to here, but it will kind of retreat and then come back here. And then we have corner rounding. So we want it to be square, but it become round. And we have isolated and dense bias. So we want it to be ISO to be the same CD, but ISO tend to be the CD tends to be smaller. So we need to apply, we call it OPC, proximity correction, to mitigate these issues. So three main types. One is line shortening, and one is corner rounding, and ISO dense bias. And so you can see that for this one, a lot of time we might have so this one is 1D effect, but both of these and these are 2D effect. And so in the mask design, we like to do some checking for these kind of OPC. And so, for example, we have this end-to-end mask design. Okay. So, for example, if our design is like 100 nanometer, then we put it on the mask, and then after the exposure, we try to see what is what line shortening, what will it cause, what's the end result, for example. And then for corner rounding, yeah, basically it's a contact hole. So we will see how much corner rounding it is, or we have this type of lens design, so we can see that how much it will cost. And also a lot of time we have these so if this is photoresist, this is not photoresist. If this is design, and at the end, it will become like this. So the green part is your design, but this the red part is actually what the photoresist looks like at the end. So this one will dictate how much design rule you can tolerate for this. So this is OPC is very crucial for you to kind of, for example, TSMC will tell you these, we call it crank, this crank, how much it has to be, or at least how much. Yeah, because otherwise, if it is very small, then this rounding will become very severe, and it will cause issues. So this is will become design rule. Yeah. For example, this one, how much it has to be, or they will need to do something to change. And also, for example, if you have this kind of design, because of line edge shortening, this one may end up like this. And then that means you cannot put contact holes here. If you put contact hole here, you will not connect it. So optical proximity effect is very crucial, and for you to make the mask to be working. And so later on we will talk about how to do some correction, some simple correction. But what's the reason for OPE? Okay, so we'll briefly talk about it. The main reason is that like a projection lens is limited. It has a finite size. As I mentioned before, this is a 0 degree, and this is the first degree and negative plus 1, plus 2, minus 1, minus 2. And for high resolution patterns, we can only collect positive and negative 1, including 0. That's only that can be collected. And these, like positive 2 and negative 2, disappears. Okay, so that's why, because those are missing orders, are not collected. So when you form the image on the wafer, they are missing. And that's why we only see those kind of very smooth or rounding area. Because in order, if you do Fourier transform, in order to make it square, you need like a plus 2, plus 3, plus 4, plus 6, maybe all the way to plus 10 to be able to become more square. And if you missing not just a plus 10, you're missing from 2 to 10, and then you won't be able to construct the image with a high fidelity. So the main reason is this, because we're missing high order diffraction patterns. And just some review for this one. Okay? So the sigma we're using is basically the illumination divided by the radius of the lens. Okay? And then the NA is n times sine theta. So for air, the NA maximum is 1. And for the immersion, N is 1.44, and maximum NA is 1.35. Okay. So for coherent light and like a partial coherent light, what's the difference? Okay. So if we have very high resolution one, we need to have at least 2 to 3 order. Okay? So either we will have positive 1 or negative 1 in the lens to be able to form an image. But if we have a point source and then plus 1 and minus 1 is outside the numerical aperture, then there's no image. So resolution limit basically is lambda over NA. However, if we have a partial coherent light, then even the center, like here, is outside the objective lens, then at least maybe like 30–40% of the light still within the objective lens. So then we will have imaging. So that's why I told you if we later we will cover, if we do illumination we will do high sigma. Sigma, we like to be almost like to be sigma outside. Sigma is small r divided by big R. So if you have light very close to the edge, for example here, it is 0.96, then you will have chance. You will have chance to be able to within here and then form images. So I think we covered this one like before the midterm. Okay. So resolution limit, as I mentioned, the on the denominator is NA plus NA times sigma. So that's why we have this. I mean, even though on the Rayleigh formula we put this one to be here, but because of the sigma, then we will be able to increase this denominator, and K1 we can go down to 0.25. If we don't have this sigma, basically the K1 limit will be like 0.5. Yeah, because the sigma here, as I mentioned, 0.96 is almost 1, and so this is almost 2. So we can decrease K1 from 0.5 to all the way to 0.25. Okay. So all in all, basically, we just want to bring light within the objective lens, projection lens, or numerical aperture. So that's all in all the kind of the concept. All these. Yeah, this is what I mentioned. So if sigma is 0, yeah, if it is a point source, then the K1 limit will become 0.5. If K1 is 1, so basically, like all the way to the end of the diameter, then this one will become 0.25. K1 will be able to go down to 0.25. But this is a theoretical limit. So practically, as I always mention, it's about 0.26 or 0.266. To be able to kind of put in the practice and really print in the real tool. Okay, so this is a DOF, as I also mentioned and put on the test on the midterm, I think. Yeah, the DOF. When you have enough resolution, then you need to think about DOF. You need to have big enough DOF. Okay? So number one, you have good enough resolution. And second, then try to use a smaller NA. Because a smaller NA will give you larger depth of focus. So I also put this on the midterm. Basically, this area is the process window. Okay, this is the oval area. We want it to be big, but basically there's two axes. One is energy latitude. One is DOF. So if it is very kind of narrow, means DOF is okay, but EL is not big enough. if this is this way, means EL is okay, but POF is not big enough. Okay? And as I mentioned, this one is 0.83, right? So you draw this down and then tell where it is. This is 0.5, so this is 0.75. So it should be around 0.8. Maybe not exactly 83, but it should be around that number. Okay? If you put 0.85, you should get points. So Snell's law tell you that n sine theta need to be conserved when you go through different media. So if the angle is too big, go to like a threshold angle, then you become this one. So no refraction. After that, it will become total reflection. So this is a kind of like a critical angle, theta c. And that means this one is 90 degrees. Okay, one thing is 90 degrees. So nothing can be more, and you will become like a total reflection. And that bring out why. Yeah, also talk about this one. How we bring water. Water is not just put it in without changing the lens. The lens material need to be changed. Because without changing that, if you just put water at the initial lens material, n sine theta will be still the same. As I mentioned, go through different material. The light come here, n sine theta will be the same, even you put in water. So they need to change the lens material to have a higher index of refraction, and so that NA can be higher. Yeah, n sine theta, n need to become higher in order to use the immersion. And so I just want to quickly review these. And this is a kind of use if this is a initial without like an OPC, without optical proximity corrections, then it will look like this, right? And then, as I mentioned, you have corner rounding. The square will become like a round, and you will round and then light and shorten. And then you need to apply the optical correction so that it will be more like what you design. Basically, you put some serif here, put some hammerhead here, so that it will go out and it will become from round back to square, from line and shortening to become no line and shortening, from corner rounding to become square again. So this is what like the intention for OPC. But you can see that the mask itself looks very different. You need to put some more like a horn, or we call it serif, and then put something here to be able to correct. Become more square. So you need to kind of dig out somewhere here to remove the image here. You need to put some, we call it serif there, so that the image will go back to the design that you want. Okay. Yeah. So now it may be a good time to pause because all these will become different topic and talk about illumination in the next lecture. And so we will have maybe 10 minutes break. let's come back around 10:05-ish. OK， 大概10点5分左右回来，然后就像我讲的，下个小时有那个李教授会来观课的，那我们就从这里开始。对，那个如果还有同学没有拿到考卷的，记得跟组长说。那如果这节课没有拿的话，可能之后再找我。10点5分。
我也没有对很多，
对很多。
然后这个是很厉害，就是38点的这个吧，必须要38点，就低压扣一点。
天哪！是助教改的吗？
助教改的超严的。
这个我跟你改的不一样。
就是很多助教啊，但都很严啊，看。而且他这个上课讲是这样啊，他从这里报名
可是8分大不是在下面？
就是
低啊，是3分。
我一定低啊。
8点的时候在下面。
我这样子互接3发以上。
我也无言啊。
那个差2分。
我有针灸开圈。
谢谢。
你都看我，我分数没有高。
有高了啊，不到85。哎，你怎么知道13？
没有我觉得你看其他比较准。看，这是惨。
好吧。
这个我知道，他们是用不同算法。
那门都帮你打光的话，你会扣分嘞？
没有，就一撇啊，一半啊。
我是这个意思。
分啊。
我以为他是原本没对，然后不想让你用错。
没有，我看对的人不是这样算的，是怎么算的？
但这个他那时候是这样算的，没错啊。他那时候一开始
没有，他们不是这样算的，我好像看对的人不是这样。
他们。